Knight Louis of House Tranquil smashed through an immense marble wall with the bulk of his paladin knight frame to see another fresh horror unfolding before his eyes. A many-tentacled, many-moored monster feasting upon infants thrown into its maws by a gaggle of cultists and harlots, gleefully throwing infants into the maws of the abomination. He raised up the Reaper chainblade of his mighty immense paladin warsuit and smashed the creature into paste. The teeth of the Reaper chainblade, long since gunked up with flesh, blood and gore, it still made an effective maul as he battered the abomination into paste before turning the blade upon the gaggle of cultists and harlots, smashing them into paste with his knight's immense bulk. Feeling no satisfaction at annihilating yet another horde of the eternal party on this vile, perverse planet of the damned, Louis smashed his knight's warframe through the opposite wall and carried on into the eternal party of this pleasured world. Looking out, he could see endless debauchery and horrors as the party of the damned continued onwards. That was what he hated most of all about this world. No matter what he and his household did, no matter how many he killed, the damage they did, the eternal party kept on going. It was as if they just didn't see them, didn't register them, even as they were being crushed down by the knight's warframes. The party just kept going, and that music, the music never ceased. Never ceased, never silent, never got louder, never got quieter. It stayed the same. Just like this party, it never changed and it never stayed the same. And the words, he'd long since turned off the Vox a long time ago and muffled the external audio receptors, but still the words, just give in, just give in, just give in, echoed into his mind. The chorus of the abominable song that never ended on the abominable party of this perverse planet of the damned. Reaching back to his senses, he continued his rampage, smashing his knight's suit through more harlots and gaggling hordes of partying cultists and abominations. Louis couldn't remember how long it had been since they had set out to purge this demonic world, or how long it had been since they had set out into the Eye of Terror on their forced penitent crusade. The thought of that made Louis angry. How dare the sororitas accuse House Tranquil of being cowards? How dare they have the right to accuse a noble knight household of weakness? And the fact that the Mechanicum had bent over and allowed the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy to have their way and force their household to go on a penitent crusade disgusted him. The politics of the Imperium always disgusted him, but he had thought, being one of the noble knights, that they were above that. They were above the petty squabbling of mortals. Mortals? Why was he suddenly thinking in those terms? Louis shaked himself back to his senses with a purity of purpose, and kept on the rampage through the demonic world, smashing and battering as he went. Checking down at the scanners, Louis looked down to see that the immense Castellan warsuit of the Grand Master of the Order was stopped. It had not moved at all. He quickly looked on the long-range auspex and found that the knight was completely stationary. He wondered if perhaps the Grand Master had died. Perhaps the knight had malfunctioned and it had ceased. But, looking out through the visual scanners, he saw that the truth was far more horrifying. The Grand Master had exited the knight's warsuit and was walking open-armed towards a gaggle of harlots and many-breasted demonic abominations. He had given in. He had submitted to the song and to the siren call of the perverse planet, like every other knight except for himself and, well, until now, the Grand Master. He wished to do something. Louis checked his armaments, but they had long since been extinguished. No battle cannon shells or heavy stubbers. No ammunition left to kill his Grand Master and save him from the fate that he knew would befall him if he submitted any further to the abominations before him. But it was too late. All Louis could do was turn and look away as the Grand Master started tearing off his clothes and running proudly towards the abominable harlots. He looked away. Louis could not bear it anymore. He looked back to see the immense frame of the Grand Master's Castellan knight suit, and he watched as, like every other knight that had fallen, every other pilot who had fallen or had died or had abandoned hope or had succumbed to the temptations of the enemy, many pink tentacled horrors emerged from beneath the planet's surface to grab and envelop the mighty knight suit. He watched as it was surrounded by a wad of flesh and gore, until an immense hill made of pulsating flesh was all that remained of the once proud knight suit. Louis was given almost to despair. He was the last loyal son of House Tranquil, the last loyal knight left. And that song, and those words, "Just give in," was still etched into his mind. He tried to remember his purity of purpose, but slowly he knew that he was succumbing to despair, and that he was succumbing to loss. Grinding down the despair with purity of purpose, he smashed through another horde of abominable creatures. If it took him 10,000 years, then he would purge this planet of the demonic filth. He would uphold the honor of House Tranquil until his death. This he swore in the name of the household, in the name of the Emperor, in the name of all that he held dear. But even still, the endless song carried on, trying to corrupt him, and those words, those dark, abominable words, "Just give in, just give in, just give in," echoed into Louis's mind.